I just didn't know why people weren't really making big rom-coms anymore.
Thank you for bringing the rom-com back, by the way. This is exciting.
Now they don't make it.
Yeah, we want a rom-com renaissance.
I
we
love
want to
a
bring people to
rom-com.
the theaters. We want them to have fun and enjoy themselves. Yes. There's big set pieces, like we're making the rom-com big again.
Making the rom-com big again may ring a little too MAGA as a slogan for my taste, but it does succinctly put what was evidently the mission statement behind last year's Anyone But You. And if you're at all familiar with my channel, it won't surprise you to hear that I'm sympathetic to the cause. Do I tire of the notion that each and every new entry to this genre must carry the weight of their kind squarely on its back? Have I lost faith that any one of their box office wins could ever revitalize the mid-budget comedy once and for all? Yes and yes, but whatever. This movie's success as a sleeper hit proves to mean for the industry, whether or not Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell's next project together, God willing it's an original instead of a sequel, sees a similar return on investment. It's been fun while it's lasted. Right? From cheating rumors to parodies to bits on live TV, I think it's safe to say that the many people behind Anyone But You accomplished their goal of making a big rom-com. What's debatable is whether they made a good one. Obviously, it has its fans, so I'll start by saying that I'm sincerely happy for you if you're one of them. I'd rather be you. There was a time when I was genuinely looking forward to this movie, not based on the merits of its abysmal teaser trailer, but because I'd heard it would be 1, a modernized retelling of Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing, and 2, directed by Will Gluck of Easy A fame. These were major selling points to me, Julia, when early reception was mixed, however, and I was hearing everything from it's a must-see to it's a waste of time. The lack of consensus kept me from checking it out until last month, at which point I regret to inform that I wasn't impressed. I've done a lot of mulling over why though, and I'll let you in on a secret. This was originally going to be a longer, different kind of video. I wanted to make my case against the film by walking through it sequentially and picking nits. It was meant to be a bit of a blast from the past in that way, but after covering only 11 minutes of Anyone But You, I felt done. And I don't mean exhausted, I mean satisfied. That's simply how long it took for me to get to the bottom of my distaste for this movie. The first 11 minutes take place at least 6 months prior to the rest, and while my complaints certainly aren't confined to them, most can be traced back to them, I'm convinced that cutting the opening sequence altogether would better the story without even rendering it much less coherent. So if you don't mind, not that you have a say, I'm going to elaborate on that, and it will be a quick one, but fun for me and hopefully fun for you. The gist is that B, fashioned after Beatrice, is a BU law student begging a barista for the bathroom key.
I also kind of, well, no, I know that establishments that serve food or drink must be open to the public regardless of their purchasing class.
And Ben, fashioned after Benedict, is the finance bro who comes to her rescue.
Honey? About to order. Do you want your usual?
The two go on to share a magical evening together. They split a grilled cheese.
All right, wait to cool down. You just saw me take it off the burning stove.
Oh my god.
Swap secrets.
I don't even know if I want to be a lawyer. I cannot believe I just said that out loud. Why do you have a giant wrench?
My mom gave me that. She said, no matter how broken something is, there's always a way to fix it. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm talking to you about my mom right now.
And crash cuddling on his couch. For rather illegible reasons though, B sneaks away in the morning.
I left before you could wake up. I don't know why. Why did I?
And only returns to overhear Ben bad-mouthing her to his lifelong friend, Pete.
My boy's in love!
Fuck that. I couldn't get her out of here fast enough. This girl's a disaster.
Needless to say, it's less obvious to her than it is to us that he's just lashing out, and so she silently storms past a graffitied Romeo and Juliet quote. Here's much to do with hate, but more with love. In the interest of admitting a few things I do appreciate about this movie, I'll direct you to a video which catalogs its many other Easter eggs and references. Details like that are always fun to see. I'll also mention that Pete's introduction is to thank for my favorite joke.
You got cheese and bread. You didn't miss one ingredient.
Top tier grilled cheese joke. I like it. What then is my problem? Why exactly would I encourage a first-time viewer to fast forward through all of that? Well, to put it broadly, the 11 minutes in question are unnecessary at best and actively detrimental at worst. Allow me to explain. I call them unnecessary straightforwardly because they fail to establish nearly any information that couldn't be gleaned elsewhere. Like, they're immediately followed by a time jump to B&B's reintroduction, throughout which the tragic tale of their first encounter will be exposition dumped through dialogue anyway.
You two know each other?
Yeah, we met.
Barely. I'm gonna go grab a drink.
Door's that way if you're looking to sneak out. I know that's your
I
thing.
think that's the jerk who B got with when she was on her break from Jonathan. No way. So B's the coffee girl who ghosted him?
That scene, which itself is followed by another time jump to Claudia and Hallie's destination wedding, where the rest of the movie will take place, that scene, it honestly gives off the impression to me that it was written as if to leave open the possibility of axing the opening sequence. I mean, why else rehash in excruciating detail backstory that we, the audience, literally just witnessed firsthand? Stop wasting my time. In all seriousness though, I do believe movies to be more than mere conduits for information, and as such, I might be willing to forgive the uselessness of Anyone But You's first 11 minutes if pointless was all they were. But no. They're much worse. Now, to explain why I think front-loading the film with backstory was a big, huge, actively detrimental mistake, it's important to note how crucial it is to the appeal of Beatrice and Benedict, in my opinion, that the particulars of their romantic history are largely left to our imagination.
You have lost the heart of Senor Benedict!
Indeed, my lord. He lent it me a while.
It's not until the second act that their past even comes up. We learn first and foremost of the merry war between them.
There is a kind of merry war betwixt Signor Benedict and her.
Merry is a telling word choice there, isn't it? Ask yourself why Beatrice and Benedict bicker, and on an empirical level, it does make sense to point out their vague shared history, but there's a simpler answer at play. They bicker because they like to.
But truly, I love none.
A dear happiness to women.
Merry wars like that, come to think of it, are kind of the backbone of the rom-com genre, dating back to screwball comedies. Anyone But You has a lot in common with comedies of remarriage in particular, which tested the boundaries of the Hays Code by centering divorced couples who'd get back together. A premise like that calls for a certain kind of relationship dynamic, right? The characters must drive one another crazy enough to have gotten divorced in the first place, but hidden within their animosity, there ought to be a sense that in each other, they've met their match.
Dexter, would you mind doing something for me?
Anything what?
Get the heck out of here.
Something along those lines, sans divorce, was clearly attempted here. But how better to spoil the fun, the merriment, if you will, than to contrive a series of misunderstandings to blame for their banter. After all, why should the organic collision of their personalities have anything to do with it when it could be instead unwittingly implied that they'll resume getting along swimmingly as soon as a single miscommunication is cleared up?
A woman who uses her sexuality to take advantage of other people.
Fuckboy.
Basically, my complaint is that B&B's false start renders their entire relationship dynamic plot-based where it could have been character-based. I don't buy them as intellectual equals going toe-to-toe just for the sake of it. Why would I? The origins of their conflict are ever present.
Claude told me you dumped him. To sneak out on your wedding day?
In the end, when they've kissed and made up, is it not fair to assume that the supposed skirmish of wit between them will evaporate into thin air? It's perplexing to me when B eventually admits that the reason she snuck out back in the day was to escape the heat.
It was the first time in my life that I felt fire and I had to blow it out.
Because what heat? What fire? You took a romantic stroll through the park and had a polite conversation about gymnastics.
I was a gymnast.
Gymnast?
Yes, for like 5 years. I got like 6th place on beam.
This is the pairing that I'm supposed to root for expressly because of their unique fighting passion.
We never fought.
Isn't that a good thing?
It was just comfortable.
Whether analyzed individually or as a pair, the portrayal of these characters in the first 11 minutes is irreconcilable with the portrayal of them throughout the rest of the movie. Like, in the beginning, I thought Ben was meant to be suave, the suavest guy who ever lived, but he goes on to be more of a bumbling idiot oaf man.
Look at your room, it's so much bigger. You got a painting? Wow, that's so red.
And if a major plot point for B was going to be the fact that she dropped out of law school, then why was the very first thing chosen to establish about her that she wasn't just a law student, but an attentive one who gleefully applied her learnings to everyday life? Realistically, I get that people are complicated, contradictory, and multidimensional, but screen time is a finite thing, and it matters a lot, especially early on, what you are choosing to reveal and imply about characters through their dialogue and actions. I just don't think Anyone But You gave me the tools I needed to understand its leads, let alone its legion of supporting characters. In many ways, I've hardly scratched the surface of my issues with this movie, but I find all of my issues are underpinned by this one. There are scenes that I see the appeal of and moments that make sense to me on paper, but at the end of the day, my impression of the project never really recovered from its opening sequence. Taking into consideration romances that span lifetimes or love stories about the ones who got away, I'm well aware that other iterations of second chance romance call for flashbacks and whatnot. But the way I see it, Anyone But You didn't. I don't know if I'd be a fan if it weren't for the first 11 minutes. All throughout, neither the dialogue nor its delivery does it for me. I hate its usage of physical comedy, but I do think the absence of these particular 11 minutes would be a marginal improvement. I wonder if anyone feels the same or if I'm not making sense. Let me know.